Have you ever heard the expression that when you have ADHD, hard things are easy and easy things are hard? If you haven't heard it, you've heard it now. And today I'm talking about one of those easy things, easy meaning neurotypicals find it easy, but a lot of ADHDers struggle with. And that is everything around meal planning, grocery shopping, meal execution, feeding ourselves, that human thing that we all must do. Now, the interesting thing is that this is a rather mundane and easy task. You would think that everybody would have this nailed by the time they're in their mid 20s. But the issue is that meal planning and forward thinking and deciding what you want to have at any given time, and then deciding whether or not you need to buy ingredients to create specific meals, and then remembering that you have those ingredients in the fridge before they rot. These all require executive function, and that can be a little challenging for us. So, today, what I thought I would do is walk you through the systems that I've created in my life in order to make this really very much a no brainer process. Now, full transparency, I am only planning for my husband and I don't have a house full of children with different appetites and food preferences. So, I know this can get very complicated based on your specific lifestyle. But what I want to give you today are some ideas to think through your meal planning process and then set up a system for yourself. So, in terms of what I shared today, take what works for you, leave the rest, and hopefully, this will make your meal planning and meal execution and feeding yourself and all of your loved ones a heck of a lot easier. So, the first rule to meal planning is to decide what is most important. And when I say this, I usually think of three different categories. Is convenience most important? Is cost most important? Or is some sort of dietary restriction most important? Meaning, if convenience is number one, then you're going to be looking for various different things in the grocery store that may not necessarily align to a priority that is based on stretching your dollar as far as you can. That means you might be doing a lot less convenient food items, but saving money by doing a lot more of the food preparation part yourself. Or there might be dietary restrictions in your house. You might have somebody with celiac who is allergic to dairy or any other sort of food preference that might be going on in your household that you need to consider. So the first thing I think about in terms of my own life is what's most important. And for me, my husband, that is dietary because I enjoy cooking, so I don't necessarily have to go for convenience. And food just happens to be one of the areas where I don't mind spending money because my health and my fitness is one of my highest values. So it's okay for me to spend a little bit more to get more quality items in my kitchen. But I will also share some hacks that I do to spend less time in the kitchen and also keep it cost effective and minimize food waste overall. Once you know what's most important for you, the next thing to think about is what is already working in your meal planning and preparation process. We don't want to burn everything down to the ground and start from the beginning. So when you think about your family, when you think about the habits you have around your kitchen, think about what is already working. Are there typical meals that everybody likes to eat? Does everybody do their own breakfast and lunch in your house? And does that work for you guys? Do you like to sit down as a family for dinner? And if you do, what does that look like? Or does your family have a lot of commitments that makes having dinner together a challenge? And if that's the case, how are you currently doing things? What's working and what do you want to maintain in your current system? So write down everything that you think is working universally in your house. And once you've got that, then you want to look at what's not working. What are the foods that always seem to get tossed out? What are the foods that nobody likes to eat? What are the things that seem to be forgotten in the pantry year after year? And write all of those down and make a note to yourself to completely eliminate them from your grocery planning and shopping. I don't know about you, but I have this tendency to buy things based on routine rather than what it is we want to eat. Very often we get sick of things, we stop eating them, but I keep buying them. And it's because I'm not pausing to really just reflect on what's working and what's not working in my grocery system at any given time. So once you know what is working, what is not working, then I would encourage you to take a look at the lifestyle across your entire family. Now, again, for me, it's just my husband and I in our house. We eat most of our meals here because we both work at home and live at home. So we do our own breakfasts, we do our own lunches, but we eat dinner together. And the way that works for us and our lifestyle is we generally eat the same thing for breakfast and the same thing for lunch. When it comes to dinner, we either go out for dinner or we have some favorite dinners that we like to do on rotation, or I'm trying something a little bit different. But to be perfectly honest, I am not exactly adventurous in the kitchen because that's not where I want to spend my time and energy. And that brings me to the next step in the food planning process. And that is being honest with your skill set and your desire to change. So I'm recording this in January. This is when a lot of folks are making resolutions to eat better, get in shape, cook more meals at home, save more money, and all of those things are great. But the problem is that even though you may have that intention, if you don't have the skill set to follow through on it, or you don't have the desire to be in the kitchen, then that is not going to be a long term sustainable resolution or habit. I encourage you to have an honest moment with yourself. If you do not like to cook, that's a-okay. You can still do a great meal plan around prepped food that you don't have to have a lot of interaction with. And this comes back to that first point around what's most important. If you don't have the desire to improve your cooking skills and you have no cooking skills, then you're probably going to want to opt for convenience when you're thinking about your grocery plan overall. However, if you do have a desire to change or somebody in your house has an interest in cooking, then you want to look at what are the skill sets that you need to improve, what are the tools you may need to add to your kitchen. I think simple is best. And before you go out and buy a whole bunch of cookbooks, there's a ton of different YouTubers you can follow that will match your skill level and your food preferences and help you develop confidence in the kitchen. It is absolutely possible because if I can do that, anybody can, and I'm pretty damn good in the kitchen. Now, the next thing to do is record your rotational favorites. You may have already jotted this down when you were thinking about what was working in your kitchen, but if you haven't, this is a great time to list out all of the meals that your family just seems to love, or if you're just a solo person with your cat, whatever meals you love the most as well. And when you have that list created, think about what the running themes are there. Why does everybody love it? Is it because it's got lots of cheese in it? Is it because it's easy to produce? Is it because it's Mexican food? What is it about all of these different rotational favorites that your family adores that makes them so well liked? And if there's a common theme there, then it might be something that you would want to expand on as you build out your repertoire of new recipes that you want to add to those rotational favorites. And once you have all of that written down, like your solid awareness of what works well for you and your family, and what doesn't work well, and what you guys like and what you don't like, now it's time to actually create a system that works for you and your lifestyle in terms of how you want to build this into a routine going forward. So I generally like to think about meal planning in three different ways. You can plan by meal. So what are all your breakfasts for the week? What are all the lunches and dinners? And that's great if you do things on a regular rotation. If you and your family like to mix things up a lot, I would then recommend thinking about your meal plan in terms of macronutrients, which is protein, carbs, and fat. Generally, when I think about meal planning from this perspective, I think of all of the protein that I'm going to want to have as the main source of my meal. And that could be plant-based protein or an animal-based protein. It doesn't matter, but I like to think about the protein first because I do like to optimize for protein in my own meals. And then I like to think about the vegetables that I'm going to add with my protein. I do it in that order because from my perspective, a healthy diet has lots of clean protein, tons of veggies, and then some fat to make those two things taste a lot better. And then everything else is over here. And that's like your processed food, your carbohydrates. And very rarely do you need to plan for that stuff. It knows where to find you and you know where to find it. Better that you spend your time, energy, and resources planning out the things that you want to prioritize in your diet, like vegetables, like protein, and like healthy fats. So I do a lot of chicken breast and shrimp and fish. We also do a lot of veggie meats as well. And then I always think about the vegetables that I want to prepare with those proteins. And then I also think about the veggies that I want to have for the soups that I create for lunch, or the prepared lettuce that my husband likes to use for his salads throughout the week. So I like to plan things that way. And then for me, fats usually look like either an olive oil or coconut oil and a sauce based around that fat, or like a tikka masala sauce or stir fry sauce, something like that's pre-made but clean. You really want to be looking at the ingredients when you're buying sauces and make sure that you're not getting things you don't want, like added sugar and food colorings and that sort of thing. And the one other system you can use for planning your meals is just the inventory-based system, which is looking at your pantry and looking at your fridge, deciding what needs to get eaten right away, and then planning your meals accordingly. Either one of those processes will work, but pick the one that you think will work best for you. And then you want to sit down with whatever kind of planning system is going to work best for you. And on that note, I will show you what I use. It's in my Notion where all great things begin. So let's dive right in. If you've been around here for a minute, then you recognize this template. This is my weekly planning template for all things in my life: work, personal, the whole kit and caboodle. And it's also my meal planning. So when I sit down on a Sunday to plan my week ahead, I am looking at this spread right here. And as you'll see, I've already plugged in the meals that we're going to have. So these are only dinners because I already know what I'm having for breakfast and lunch. So veggie burgers, fajitas, swordfish with kale and squash soup. We do a great frozen pizza that has a cauliflower crust. Mwah. And then usually on Fridays, we do takeout. Saturdays, we go out. And then Sunday, we're going to do salmon burgers and potatoes. Now, I'm being very intentional with my meal planning these days because we are going away on a trip soon. And I want to make sure that all of the consumables in my fridge are consumed before we leave. So I plan this out at the beginning of the week, and I plan it out based on what have we had lately that we don't want to repeat, what haven't we had lately that we do want to repeat, and that comes from my list of repeatables that we really enjoy in our house. And then I also look at what's in the pantry, in the freezer, and in the fridge. And once I've thought about what I want to eat that week, then I look to what I need from the pantry, fridge, and freezer in order to make sure I have everything that I need. And I will also adjust my meal plan if there's things left in the refrigerator that I want to consume before I go to the grocery store. So once I have this list, I write out anything that I need and then I go grocery shopping. And I don't actually have to leave my chair to do that, guys. It's all done right here at my desk. So let me show you how I do my grocery shopping. Now, this is HEB. This is not a commercial for them. This is not sponsored. I'm not suggesting you should use them, but they are the grocery store that we use because it's around the corner and they offer free curbside pickup. So the whole idea behind curbside is that you order all of your groceries online. Somebody else is paid to go through and select them for you, and they put them all together and drop them in your car. And you can try to tip them, but they will refuse it. And it just saves so much time. You can also have your groceries delivered, but I like to get out of the house once in a while. So I usually just plan my groceries around times when I know I'm going to be out and about and I can pick them up. So here's how I make this super simple. I have lists created on the website in my account. And you can do this with any account. Let's say you use Safeway or Amazon Fresh actually is great too. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't deliver where we are, but I loved using them when I lived in the Bay Area. So this is my breakfast list, for example. And like I said, we eat the same thing for breakfast every day. So ordering all of these things, I just go click, click, or just add whatever I need that week and it's done. So lunch, same idea. I have everything I need to create soups throughout the week. We use a lot of frozen pre-chopped vegetables and I just throw them into a pot with soup stock and I make my soups for the week and my husband likes to do salads and then protein is separate. And then dinner, like I said, we like to mix things up. So sometimes we're doing a low carb pasta, sometimes we're doing veggies with swordfish or anything like that. So that is literally how I set up my whole system. So from the time that I start planning out my meals to the point where I'm literally putting my groceries away, the time investment is maybe 2 hours total, including going to the grocery store to pick them up at curbside. And it makes things easy. It removes any of the impulse purchases that I'm usually doing only when I'm hungry or when I see something that looks really delicious. And it keeps my kitchen really well organized and reduces food waste as much as humanly possible. Now, remember when I said that you don't necessarily have to have a skill or a desire to cook in order to eat more meals at home? Going to the grocery store and buying prepared meals can be such a great time saver and calorie saver, if you will. I love buying rotisserie chickens because it lasts for at least 3 or 4 days. And I chop it up with my salads or put it in soup or anything like that. And I find it's just yummy and delicious. You can also buy smaller portion meals, like here's salmon and broccoli or soup that's created from their kitchen. So again, I'm not making this into a commercial for my particular grocery store, but a lot of grocery stores do have prepared food sections where you can buy salads or prepared things that are actually quite yummy and easy to implement. And very often, these selections are a lot better than the overly processed options you will get in the pantry section of your grocery store. So, if you do have a great grocery store that has all of these options, then you can save yourself a lot of time, money, and health bills because you'll be eating better as well. So, that is how I manage food in our house. And it's super simple. Now, granted, it's just myself and my husband here, but if you have family members or little kiddos, why not get them involved in this process early? And rather than bringing them to the store and having them go crazy in the cereal section, like I used to do when I was a kid, have them shop online with you, have them talk about what they want to eat, and you guys do it together from the comfort of your home where it's stress free and a lot easier to manage. So I hope you thought that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.